So hi. We're back to our energy. I just shot video to 300. So that was fun. I didn't know what to talk about, by the way. It's just like there's a whole lot that's been happening. And it's just super exciting to be around when things elevate. But this video is going to be about decisions and the goals behind them. Ultimately, the only decision we want to make is that we have to figure it out. The rest after will come naturally. Really, what do I mean with this? Do all my videos start with what do I mean with this? Nobody tells me. So I don't know. And I'm not gonna watch them, man. I'm not gonna go back and watch them. I fear I've been repeating myself on multiple occasions. But they come in different vibes, so maybe nobody notices, or maybe I'm expressing them differently. So in my head they feel like they're the same, but they're expressed differently. But how can we look at the decision-making process that we have from a different angle? How can we view our own interaction with how we make a decision differently? Remember, I believe everything is a relationship. So, what if our relationships with decisions are basically predetermined judgments? Or what if it's just been biased to a certain state of mind that we were in a long time ago and we kind of stuck with it? What if, what if, what if? But ideally, I feel like the best decision that we make, and we only have to make it once. And then after that, you don't really make decisions. You kind of like just observe how you interact with everything around you. So take a basketball player, I guess. That's like kind of, I think we could all kind of relate to it. And his biggest decision would be whether he wants to play basketball or not. Every other minor decision is literally supported by that big decision. Like if I decide I'm going to play basketball, that decision isn't just I'm going to play basketball. Okay, so are you going to play basketball for fun every Friday? Are you going to play basketball and practice and play with the community basketball like course? Are you going to be playing basketball and trying to reach pro? Are you going to be pro? That's your aim of playing basketball. Like, what's the decision you're making? Where is it going? So maybe as well, any decision we make has to actually have like a core understanding of where we want to go. So ultimately, the only decision a pro basketball player ever does is the fact that he wants to be pro or he wants to be the best. It's one decision. Everything else is basically every small decision is a byproduct of that big decision. So they're not really decisions. They're just literally realizations. It's like, I decided this is what I want to do. And so because this is what I want to do, that means this has to happen. So I no longer have the option of making a decision for something to happen because it literally is necessary or needed or to get to where I want to get. And I feel if we approach this, let's deconstruct it even more. The bigger decision we want to make is that we have to figure it out. Because ultimately, the one true decision we make is that this is what we want to make. And then the actual decision concerning our vision is figuring it out. Because our vision is to be pro. And so the decision is figure out how to become pro. So what we effectively do is every single day just work to become pro when it comes to basketball, naturally. And so the decision really is not so that just means there's no decisions, man. The only decision you ever make is the commitment to whatever it is you want as an outcome. That's it. Everything else is not really a decision if you truly understand the outcome. So the more in tune you are with the outcome, the more in tune you are with how you want things to be done, then it's a natural occurrence or the resolutions that when something pops up, what do we call it? When something kind of like reveals itself in front of you naturally, simply because your mind is set in a certain direction. Like if I'm going to go swimming in the ocean, I can't expect a tree coming out of the water, right? Because my direction is the ocean. So ultimately, the only decision I make is the commitment to the vision that I have or the outcome that I want, which is normally associated with a vision. And again, like you can just literally want to have a family. You can maybe want to be healthy and go to the gym every day. Like whatever it is, the only true decision towards something is always the commitment towards it. And what you're committed to getting out of it. Because like I don't, some people want to play basketball but don't really want to get to the NBA. It doesn't matter how good they are, they don't. So that's basically it. That's their commitment. Every other thing that becomes extra, they don't care for it. Why would they? It doesn't matter. It just makes them work more for something they don't want. So such a commitment, man, makes every other decision around us a lot simpler. And it's funny because the way I see it is committing to something bigger than yourself kind of relieves you of that responsibility, relieves you of that fear, I guess, of failure. Because it really doesn't matter, it's beyond you. So ultimately, as long as you're doing something towards it, you're good. Like I said, it reminds me of when I was a kid and like I used to be like, I tried my best. And sometimes my dad would not say anything, but other times he'd be like, did you really? And now it's kind of making sense to me right now, literally, as I'm like talking to you. Because there are times where whatever I was attempting was not really something I was capable of. So anything I tried towards it intentionally was more than was expected. So I was always like, I always left with a sign of like, no, you did good. You did try your best. Although I don't like the word try, I like attempting more. While other times when it was just something that I could actually do if I tried, but I probably wasn't interested or my intention behind it wasn't. The response of adults would always be like, no, did you though? Did you really? And imagine just letting go of the responsibility behind what you want to achieve simply because you have decided that that's the path, the commitment. And it reminds me of the first episode of One Piece. It's written here on my arm, by the way, the first episode, 2014. You know what 2014? It was 10 years ago. I was 28, and people still did not. Yeah, the hype wasn't as heavy. But here, the first episode in Japanese, Origa kimi tanda kara, sono tame ni tatakatti shindara betsuki. I wrote it in English. Back then, I didn't know Japanese. And about I went for it to a translator. Like I memorized that. I went to a translator. He wrote it down. But it means I have realized my dream. And if I have to die fighting for it, so be it. Everything else becomes easy. And it's not about possible or not, is it? Because you do things because you want to. When you make a decision, when you make a decision that's commitment based, right? It's not a right now decision. The only valid decision to make is like, what kind of person am I going to be? And if I'm going to be that guy, for me, for you could be that girl or whatever. But if I'm going to be that guy, then everything that brings me to be that guy is the easiest thing to kind of like go for. It stops being a decision. Funky shit. It's funny, we don't really realize the things that actually stand in our way. And short sightedness, or just at least like looking directly at what's happening in front of us, makes us feel like whatever we're deciding is so heavy. And I think that's why most people kind of like reflect when they're giving you advice, be like, keep your eye on the prize and give you all that aggressive, like keep your eye on the prize. But do we have to torture ourselves with all the small things in front of us? Can't it be easier for us to just understand why it makes more sense to kind of like always reflect on how close we are to the vision and what it is that we're trying to do, or the prize, or the goal, whatever you want to call it. And then slow and steady kind of build ourselves to be the person that's able to handle all the shit that comes from that kind of stuff. I really think there's a much smoother way to approach it, more efficient, definitely, and more effective. Because once you understand the weight of whatever it is that you're going after, and you accept it beyond yourself, every small step becomes pride in your own self. It becomes a construction of your mental environment. It becomes a dedication for something much bigger than you. That even though you're the one doing it, it's going under your name. It's not really yours. You're doing it for something bigger than you. You're doing it for more. You're doing it for a person in the future, a part of you, a section of you, a segment of you, a characteristic of you that really pushed for it in the present, like full blown negotiation mode. And if you truly understand and respect your future self, I would say the best thing we could do is just enjoy maybe the journey. Because the one decision you make is the heaviest one of them all. Everything else just pales in comparison. So imagine one decision is literally your commitment to the outcome, and everything else becomes just a side